Technobrain, Africa's second fastest growing technology company. Africa came first, we came in second.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Njenga, and welcome once again to Unstoppable. This week, I'm talking to Dr. George Njenga, the founder and dean of the Strathmore Business School, an amazing institution that has one simple agenda: to transform Africa. Don't miss this.
Peter, thank you very much. I'm good. Thank you for coming.
Let's start with you as a person.
Yes.
You didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to start a business school.
Suddenly I was born.
Tell me,
I was born in a small hill country of Kenya called Nanyuki. But to cut a long story short, my father being an engineer, a water engineer, we traveled all around the country trying to put pipes with my father around the country in order to provide water. And so he decided to go into business without realizing that he had entered a whole new profession. And that is how I was brought into business, right from when I was 16 years old. I would come from school, and as soon as I had my holidays, my father would give me the keys to the shop. He would make me buy the supplies. He would make me stay in the shop the whole day and pay me a salary at the end of that day. An experience that obviously keeping books, you know, that sort of thing, reconciling accounts, speaking with suppliers, keeping the customers there. I started learning business from when I was young. And when I was 17, 18, he taught me personally how to drive the car, because he needed me also to go out and get the supplies with the car.
Apart from the early experience, where did you transition towards accounting?
So, I think when I finished my A-levels, that is the high school part of my schooling, I asked myself, should I go to university to do a fine art design program for textile design, or go into accounting and finance? So I decided to go into accounting and finance, because my uncle one day advising me said, but this profession of fine art, isn't it a design, you know? Then we didn't know what design was. So he said, this looks like a lady's profession. Eh? I think you need a manly thing. And so I said, okay, I'll go to do accounts in Strathmore. And I canceled my university trip, and I lost my friends in the process. But that's how I started as an accountant back in 1985, 86.
And at that time, Strathmore was what?
Strathmore then was a school of accountancy only, a college embedded within a secondary school. And the reason why I joined Strathmore, by the way, was because my father went bankrupt. And not only did he go bankrupt and sold all the businesses and sold all the family property and houses, but also left my mom with a big debt. When I was 22, I had to take over my family's work. So I told my mom I'm no longer going to school. I stopped my accounts. But just as when I was sending my resignation letter, I got a job with Strathmore. Then I think they knew my story, so they wanted to help out. They gave me an assistant accounts job. And that's where I started practicing the technical side of the business. This is my entry level. I began to learn all those things. Anyway, all said and done, I didn't know that I had started a profession that would lead me to become a political scientist, because my PhD is political science.
Is that right?
So very many people laugh at me when I tell them I started from certified public accountancy examinations to a doctorate in political science.
Can I fast forward a little bit?
Yes.
And Strathmore has certainly gone way beyond being a school of accountancy. Yeah. And as a university, but I want to come to you as the founder of the School of Business, the Strathmore School of Business. What inspired you? What led to this? And what was that journey like?
Seeing so many of my brothers and sisters in such difficult circumstances, and also, I must say, the entrepreneurial spirit that my father had allowed me to engender when I was young.
Beyond what you've shared with us, What has inspired you in the 10 years that this institution has grown?
I knew it was a dog's life, a lot of work to do, to become the first financial registrar, to help in setting up the administration, to come to a building that wasn't finished, to start like a lowly profession, which was devoid of a lot of color and flambeau.
Especially given where you were coming from.
We were coming from Lavington, we were also coming to Madaraka. It was all mud around and so on and so forth. But I remember walking along these roads and dreaming. I landed the job. I didn't know how I was going to serve. I knew that I was dedicating my life to training students. But, you know, I didn't see the vision completely.
George, success, of course, is a relative term, and different people have different measures for it.
Yes.
I think by almost every measure, people would say Strathmore Business School is a very successful institution over these 10 years. I don't imagine that it was an easy journey.
It wasn't an easy journey, on the contrary. It's one of those little babies I've created amongst many others, but it's the one that is closest to my heart, because when I had finally decided success was allowing the private sector to generate wealth as best as possible and give them the technology to do that, I realized that unless we get leaders who are entrepreneurs, then we would keep begging the West for money.
So that is your core mission?
My core mission is to enable an environment where the private sector grows to such an extent that every citizen can say has an opportunity to make something useful of his or her life.
I want to talk a little bit about the journey towards building this institution.
Yes.
And perhaps some specific obstacles and challenges that you had to overcome.
I resigned as the director of the School of Accountancy exactly September 2004. And I told my vice chancellor then, I want to resign, and I want to set up an institution that would build entrepreneurs, who would build up leaders who are going to take this country forward. They came up and said, okay, since it's an academic institution, a university, we have to start with the MBA. I told them, no, I'm building a business school. But what is the business school? I'll tell you afterwards. I went to Harvard to travel and learn what a business school was. I knew in my mind that there was no business school, and there are so many businesses coming up.
Dr. Njenga is the kind of leader you term as a visionary leader. He also combines that with pace setting. So he combines the two styles of leadership, which means he's able to see an idea long before its time. When he started SBS, most people, executive education wasn't happening in Eastern Africa. And when he started it, he believed in it, and he started building the conviction around people. So not only is he a visionary and a pace setter, but he's able to convince you how important it is to be with him and to work towards that goal for Africa.
By the time I signed my first agreement with a business school, that was the IESE Business School from Barcelona, I was called a dreamer. I was told that you're mad, you can't do this. The very dean who gave me the first team to help me, coach me into beginning a business school, told me, you have started an impossible mission. Nobody believed me except one, my vice chancellor. And a few people who sympathized but thought I was a crazy man.
Another thing that I realized looking back is that he's also a collaborative leader. He always says, it's not about us competing against another business school. It's about collaborating, which is why we have the international partnerships you have with the ESE, with Gibbs, with Lagos Business School, and now here locally, the first, I would say, collaboration of its kind with the University of Nairobi School of Journalism.
Even as I signed that agreement in 2005, 31st March with IESE Business School, I went back to the management committee, and the only thing they could give me was my salary, and I think they gave me an office in between a corridor and a toilet. I think the other thing, obviously, was that the market wasn't ready for it.
For the business school.
Nobody had a business school except one institution which had started building one, and I think that was Daystar. But in the market, nobody knew a business school.
Was there ever a moment where you just felt like throwing in the towel or giving up?
Yes, there were very many moments. Very many moments. The first thing is that there is the moment in which you realize the senior person above you and a number of other colleagues don't want to support you and think that you're a failure before you even begin. But I think that didn't make me suffer so much as one day realizing that I need space, I need to design a business school, a place where I could start the first training. And I had no money and the university refused to give me money. I didn't have money. I was teaching people in hotels, and many of my advisors were telling me that's not the way to go. But I have no money to start anywhere. However, I managed to ask for a piece of land within the university. They gave me. Then I managed to design a loan scheme, which I would get some loan to build that first school, where I would have at least 2 classes and some offices for the lecturers who would come to train in the business school. And you know, it took me 6 months to get that going. And in those 6 months, I almost lost everything I had invested in terms of bringing up the business school. Anyway, finally, after 6 months, the university decided to loan me some money. I don't know where the money came from, but they charged me the same interest rates at the banks, all right? Do you imagine that within 7 months of the date we got the money, we had the business school building going on? Yeah. And we began with 25 people.
25 students.
Yes, and now we have trained over 5,000.
A lot of people think about the first room, which had a few people starting off SBS, and now they're managers in their own right, directors in their own right. Because when you're building something, you roll up your sleeves. Just like this plant, it starts as a small seed. By the time it gets to this, you don't even remember the work that you did at the inception stage. But for it to grow like this, just as the business school has grown, people have grown, families have grown, careers have grown, and talent has grown.
And right now you're in which countries? You've got a...
We have taken care of the entire Eastern African countries. We're in Uganda, we're in Tanzania, we're in Rwanda and Burundi, we're in Southern Sudan, but we are doing that from Uganda. And now we've started going to Ethiopia. We had our first job last year in Ethiopia. But also in Kenya, going down to the mashinani, as we call it, to the roots. We have about 463 projects running in South Coast, in the Coast Development Authority area. 463 small and medium enterprises.
Would it be fair to say the sky is the limit? Or it's not even a limit?
Let me tell you something. If only others would take cue and build 1,000 more business schools in Africa, how beautiful it would be. You're only one person. You can only have your say for a moment, and like a good candle, you're blown away. I pray, and it's a spiritual thing, that more people will be inspired by this little thing and grow greater businesses than I've ever thought.
Dr. George Njenga,
yes,
the Dean, founder of the Strathmore Business School, and founder of many other things. A man who believes that determination and a vision is all one needs to make it. He's an unstoppable man. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with another unstoppable story. I'm Pete Ondeng. Goodbye.
TechnoBrain, Africa's second fastest growing technology company. Africa came first, we came in second.